Today I wanted to share my views on personality and spirituality. In concrete terms, what I want to share is the fact that being soft is not being spiritual. But to explain that, I'm going to have to go into a bit more detail as to what I mean by this and what exactly I'm talking about. Let me say that I go to spiritual centres in my area, and I also host events. I'm a meditation teacher in my local area, and I do coaching as well. And what I find is that in groups where there's some sort of spiritual practice involved, whether it's meditation or it's yoga or something else, you can kind of sense the type of personality that you're going to meet at these groups. The type of personality I'm talking about is someone who's warm and sensitive, sometimes a little bit of a doormat, sometimes quite acquiescent, very soft, not holding a lot of big presence in the space, and talking in a very sensitive voice, and sort of being kind and nice, and deliberately sort of measuring every word that they're saying to make sure that they're doing it with presence and they're doing it with propriety and so on. And this is pretty widespread. In fact, I went through a stage like this myself in my early spiritual days, where I kind of thought that that's what being spiritual was all about, was having this particular personality. And you might ask, well, Ross, why are you doing a video on this? What's the big deal here? Well, the point is that it's so widespread. In fact, there's a centre near where I live that is overcome by this, this warmth and this sensitivity and this feelingness, that I feel like the actual spiritual core has been lost from that centre. There is no spiritual core. It's a spiritual centre apparently, but the spiritual core, to me, it's not there. But what is very much visibly there is this sense of togetherness and communitarian and warmth and emotion and sharing and tears and smiles and hugs. Now, there's nothing really wrong with this per se, but here's the problem. It can create a huge problem, and this is what it is. You start thinking that having this personality means that you are spiritual. You go from pursuing spirituality to pursuing this personality. You equate the two and you sandwich them together, and you think, oh well, if I just adopt this personality in a spiritual context, then I'm going to be enlightened, or I'm going to be awakened, or I'm spiritual now, or whatever it is. And this is simply not true. It's simply not true. If you adopt this personality, the soft, acquiescent, sensitive, warm personality, that you're spiritual. That is simply not the case. So that's one thing. A huge, huge issue is equating the spiritual life to this personality. It's a huge problem in your spiritual path, if that's what you're doing. The next problem is that it's just inauthentic to you. It's a persona that you're adopting. It's not actually who you are. You're not expressing yourself. You're not being yourself. You're not comfortable being yourself. You think that when you go to a spiritual centre, you have to adopt this personality to fit in, so that people like you, so that people think you're spiritual and enlightened or whatever. So why are we doing that? Why are we not being authentic? I'm not saying, of course, when we go into social situations, we all change a bit. Let's be very honest here. But if we're doing that all the time, we just lose that authenticness. And it's not good for us. It's not good for us. It's not good for the people around us either. I want you to take a look at who you are when you're on your own. When you're on your own at home, no one to impress. Or when you're around people that you're close to, like spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, your family, your close friends. What are you like in these environments where you feel like you can be yourself with less restriction? What are you like? And are you as soft and warm and malleable and as much of a doormat as when you go to these spiritual events and so on. And if you're not, I'll suggest to you you're being very inauthentic when you're going to these places. And it's really not necessary. You're putting a lot of energy into that personality and it's totally not necessary. I don't care what people say. If you go to a place like that and everyone else is like that and you're not, it doesn't matter, because that personality does not indicate a deep spiritual life. Whether they make that how they structure the whole thing and how their culture works, it doesn't matter, because it really is not an indicator of spiritual life. There is a caveat here, a big caveat to what I'm saying, and this is sort of the main argument I have against myself is, well, Ross, you say that after a long time doing spiritual work, that you do become more compassionate. You do want to serve people naturally. You do become more altruistic. And that's true. It's been known by the different spiritual traditions for a very, very long time that the sense of wanting to serve, be a bodhisattva and so on, is a natural result of spiritual practice. But listen, that's very different to artificially adopting a personality because you think that will make you more spiritual. Spirituality isn't about having a certain personality. It's about going beyond your personality. So let's not confuse the two. And when you go beyond your personality and you realize in a very deep way that this person that you've always thought that you were isn't actually who you are, then yes, the serving and the compassion and the altruism will come. But it might not come as this warm, soft, sensitive, acquiescent personality. In fact, I think that if you're awakened, really awakened, enlightened, you should go beyond that. You shouldn't want to have to please people. Not that you're going to be obnoxious and horrible, but that you're going to guide other people in their spiritual life, and not to please, but to actually awaken them, to help awaken them, to show them real compassion, to help take them out of their current state of ego-centered consciousness and into this deeper identity, into a deep spiritual life. That is true compassion. True compassion isn't adjusting your personality so that everyone will like you and thinking that you're warm and sensitive. So I just want you to take a look, because I know that I struggled with this for many years, and to some degree I do still confuse spirituality for that, because it's so ingrained in a lot of spiritual groups, especially particular ones, that it's hard to wean yourself off it. It's hard to wean yourself off of feeling that you need to have this personality to be spiritual, which is totally not true. But I just want you to be very honest with yourself, to pay close attention to yourself and your behaviour and ask, am I confusing this soft, warm, sensitive personality for my spiritual life? And if I am, let me begin to drop that. Let me begin to be more authentic, to be myself, and let me focus on really doing deep spiritual work here. Alright, that's all I wanted to say on this topic of personality and spirituality. Thanks a lot for watching, and I hope you get a lot from this video.